God bless you, my brothers and sisters. This is Pastor Robert L. Carpenter II, and I'm coming to you. It's Tuesday, May 29th, 2018. And there was a video posted called Church of God Spiritual Revolution. Church of God Spiritual Revolution is posted by two sisters that are members, longtime members of the Church of God, located on 629 Fifth Street in West Palm Beach, Florida. The video is about 6 minutes long, 6 minutes 29 seconds long. There's two parts to it. What we're going to do is play the first part, then I'm going to come back and give some context and some commentary, then we'll play the second part, and then we will take your questions and take your comments right here. Before we go any further, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this, and we want your input down below there in the comments, and also you can email us as well at info@robcarpenter2.com. And the question of the day is, there's when a church is a local church is a part of an organization, on a state level and national level. The church has built a church, and they've paid for that building, that property, and they own it. The deed is in their name. Does the state organization or the national office of the organization, do they have rights to that property? Let's talk about it, and let's see what's going on. This is called Church of God Spiritual Revolution. I'll be right back.
Of God. A spiritual revolution. It's time out for us allowing Coco and Tennessee to take over our churches. You need to step up and say something. You pastors that are sitting back and allowing this to go on, it needs to stop. Stop sending them your money. What are they doing for us? They're not doing anything for us. We had Bishop Rowe when he was here only 3 weeks. The first thing he asked for was the deeds to our church. He wanted the deeds to our church, and he told Brother Andrew Grant so that we can borrow money. Andrew Grant told him, no, we don't borrow money on our church. Why are we allowing this to happen to us? We got to be strong. If you believe in God, believe that He will take care of us. Stop allowing stuff to go on that's going on. You got Bishop Pelt that's coming after this church for the deeds to this church. These deeds have not now, not ever have they belonged to Tennessee or Coco. They have always belonged to the church. The church, the people of God. This church has bought out pastors like Pastor we bought pastors out like Albert Nesbitt. We bought pastors out like Marcel's. These are pastors that came through this church. Bishop Wallace. These are all pastors. You got the Duncombe's and the Hepburn. All of them have come from out. This was the mother church. Why are you councilmen sitting back and allow Pelt to do what he's doing to us? Also, you got in a meeting where Bishop Pelt said that my husband tried to attack him. We got it on video. We got it on recording, saints. You can listen to the recording. Anybody that wants to listen to the recording, get in contact with us and we'll let you hear it. But I can tell you what he did do on that night. He sat in there and he did something unbecoming of a bishop. He told me I talk like a cesspool. What is that for a bishop to be saying? I called Tennessee. And I talked to them in Tennessee. I wrote Tennessee. Tennessee never did anything. We had a bishop to come here, and he told us, stop writing those people. They don't care about you black folks. Don't write to Tennessee anymore. Don't call to Tennessee, because they do not care about you black folk. You got Bishop Andrew Grant when he passed. You had Bishop Pelt on the prayer line. It was stated on the prayer line. Well, that one's gone. Mo from 5th Street is going to be leaking. All of these things, they are unbecoming of a bishop. They are unbecoming. Saints, we need to step up. We need to step up and stop sitting back and being afraid. We are sitting back like we are on Mr. Sam's farm, and Mr. Sam is going to come along and do something to us. Why are you afraid? If you believe in God, you believe that God can do all things. Why are you so afraid? Now we're going to let Sister Pat come in and she's going to talk to you.
All right, we got that first part done. Let me give you some context about, so you can understand the structure that is set up here. This is the local church located in West Palm Beach, built around, I think, 1923. The church was started. It's a part of, they have a district overseer. Okay, and then they have a state headquarters located in Cocoa, Florida. And then the international headquarters is located in Cleveland, Tennessee, on 25th Street. All right, and also at Lee University, great university that I went to. Go Flames. All right. So now that's the structure here, the local church, the state office, and the international offices. Now you heard her make some comments about you black people and all that. So let me explain that. The Church of God has been in existence now over 100 or some years. And of course we know that the racism was a big thing here in America. Now, so when the black churches, primarily Florida and the east coast of the United States, when they became a part of this organization, you had the Church of God in Cleveland, Tennessee, but you also had the Church of God, in parentheses, colored work. This is back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and part of the 60s. Yes, I know, that's way back in the day. Colored work. They called us black folk colored back then, and we accepted it. So, all right. Thank God they don't call us colored now. I'd be like, what color are you, magenta? Anyway, so what happened is in the national church would have the General Assembly, which they still have every 2 years, but then the black churches would have their General Assembly, their national meeting. All the black churches from all over the country would come and have their meeting. So they were together but separate, if that makes any sense. Now, in the 60s, they integrated the church, integrated Lee University, it's Lee College then. And so then when they come together for the national meetings and everything, you know, everybody's worshiping together. The Hispanics, whites, blacks, scores of different countries around the world. Now, Florida is one of those unique states because we do have states like Ohio, Southern Ohio, Northern Ohio, different states that are broken up geographically. Okay, like you may have an East Tennessee or West Tennessee or what have you. Florida is the only state that's broken up racially. Because what happened was the national office for the Black Church of God was located, I believe it was in Jacksonville, Florida. That was where the headquarters was. So when they integrated, well, the blacks still kept their own state office. So in Florida, you have Florida Cocoa office. That's where the headquarters is in Cocoa, Florida, in Brevard County, Florida on the East Coast. It's not called Cocoa office because it's all blacks. One of my classmates at Lee University asked me that one day. I said, no, it had nothing to do with the color. No. Okay. Then the other state office is in Tampa, Florida, here in Tampa. And they have a white state overseer or state bishop and primarily white churches, few black churches there. Florida Cocoa office has almost all black churches. And they operate separately as far as their whole structure is the same, but operate separate. Each local church sends tithe of tithes. The tithes that they bring in each month, they send a certain percentage to the state office to support that, and a certain percentage to Cleveland, Tennessee, the international office each month. Now, so that's where you hear where she says, stop sending your money, because basically, if I can paraphrase this, like she's saying, we have taxation with no representation. Okay, they send money, but then if there's something that goes on, they aren't getting what they feel like is maybe an adequate response from the state or from the international offices. Now, Bishop Anthony Pelt, who is the state administrative bishop for Florida Cocoa office, that's who she's referring to. The pastor there is Bishop Howard Rowe. It's been there about maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. And so that's what she's saying. Now, what I do want to do is this is part one. I want to get Bishop Pelt and it's also Bishop Rowe on here. We can do it via video or in person. So we can do a part two because she threw out quite a few things there, and I think it's only fair that he get the opportunity to respond in this form. I do know they are working out some things in the court system as well. So that gives the context. Now, you say, why is the Church of God still split up racially? Well, that's a good question. It's a good question. Good question. Some say that the blacks did not want to merge their state office with the whites because they felt like they would not get any positions anymore. So at least they have their own bishop, their own youth director, their own evangelist director, their own so on and so forth. So it's interesting. It's interesting. That's something we need to talk about here in 2018 because definitely, if we're in Christ, should there be division racially? My. So that's the structure. Now, in this situation here, and I can't go into all of it because I don't know all the details, but basically, this church built their church. They paid for it. That's the church behind it. And there's a discrepancy or misunderstanding concerning the deed of the church. Who owns the church? The local church built it. The local church paid for it. And whoever's on the deed, it belongs to the local church. there's the accusation, seems like what she's saying is that the state office, the state overseer, the state bishop, feels like they can have supersede that because their deed, if I'm not mistaken, says still deeded Church of God colored work, which falls up under Church of God Cleveland, Tennessee. So the question of the day is, can a church, that the church is a part of an organization that has a building, has their own property, whatever the case, does that belong to the members or does it belong to the state or the national church? That's a good discussion. And I want to see your comments. Like, subscribe, and share. Put your comments there. Email me at info@robcarpenter2.com. Let's get the discussion going. This is part 1. Now we're going to go to part 2 of their video from today, and then we'll close out with a couple of things. But think about that for a moment. Does the property, the deed, the building, the land, does it belong to the local church? Or can it be superseded by the state office of the organization or the national office? Let's continue with part 2.
Yours out loud. And from the movement that needs to take place regarding specifically the COCO office, Churches of God, and the organization of the International Church of God. We hold here a complaint where Bishop Pelt lodged a complaint to say that our church had been abandoned and we had been basically dysfunctional. We're not abandoned. We're still here. We hold services. We've held the deeds to this church since 1923, back when the colored works was in force. This was during the segregation time. How dare the Bishop Pelt of the COCO office come in to execute a bogus warranty deed to take over the deeds to this church. Saints, you need to realize that there are 2 different structures here. There's a structure between the difference between church and state. Church of God is an organization that you pay tithes into. What do you get out of paying your tithes and giving your offering to? We own this church. We do our maintenance here. If we had something to go wrong with this church, do you think that Tennessee or COCO would come in? No. What we need to get back to is the colored works mentality, where we own our land. If we're going to pay into an organization, then it needs to be for the benefit and the edification of God's work, not this thievery that's going on. Now, all of the black churches in particular down here, most of you own your own churches. Bishop Pelt is on a mission, just like with the Sebring Church, this Church of God, to take the land. Deuteronomy, the book of Deuteronomy, read it. It talks about your inheritance. It talks about how a man's worth is measured by his land and the cattle on the hill. We're here to worship God in spirit and in truth. And we're here and we're tired of bishops, pastors, leaders of God getting hung up into being the lover of money. We need to go back to God. We need to protect what's ours. And if there's a preacher in the church and he won't live right, call him up, put him out, let the church roll on. We need to be about rededication of our lives to God. Thank you for your time.
And also, saints, I want you to do your research and your homework. Bishop Pelt Church does not belong to the Church of God. He has his church, and it does not belong to the Church of God. So do your homework, and then you stop bringing these pastors in. Before you bring these pastors in, start doing some background checks on them, because that's the question that I asked on Howard Road. If we had done our background check on Howard Road, he would not be here. Do your homework, saints of God.
All right, my brothers and sisters, we heard part 2 there. Now, when the dear sister said about doing a background check on pastors, well, that's definitely something that we all should do, not just on pastors, but any workers that we have at the church that could cause the church, that could be liable if something were to happen, God forbid. Now, in the structure of the Church of God, typically, most pastors are there under appointment, which means the state bishop can, really like this. He can wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I think I'm going to put Carpenter over there in Boynton, and I'm going to put Roll over there in Tallahassee, starting this Sunday, and he's under appointment, and so that's it. There's not like some churches have a search committee and they vet people and all like that. It's whoever the bishop sends there, unless you have started the church or something like that organically. So that's a little bit different story. A lot of times the local churches don't have say-so oftentimes on who the leader or the pastor is that's going to be sent to them. So then you don't get a chance to do a background check or vetting or anything like that. Now, so here's the thing about it, because a lot of time in the church, we always, we concentrate so much on the spiritual, till a lot of time we have a tendency to leave the business side lacking. And that's even with the best of intentions. Now, if you get some folk that's got some evil intentions, they got larceny in their heart, you really got a problem. The church is one of the few places that I know, maybe the only place that I know, that an unqualified person can be appointed or allowed to take over an area that they have no expertise at all. And then we end up wondering why we get into these quagmires. We get down this rabbit hole and be like, uh-oh, we got a problem. And so those of you who are experts in church law, please feel free to chime in. The comments there below. Please like, share, subscribe this video. Let's get some dialogue going. This is part one. I want to give some time to find out what happened and then arrange with Bishop Anthony Pelt for him to, there's several things that were stated there. So we want to give him the opportunity to speak on his own behalf. But let's talk about it. Number one, the first question is, should there be racial division in the church? Should we have black churches, white churches, Hispanic churches? Or should we all just worship together? We are serving to Christ, where there's neither Jew nor Greek, nor Gentile or Jew. And then also, when it comes to the business of the church, a local church builds their church, buys their property, and that it belongs to that church. Does it belong solely to that local church, or does the state office of the organization or international office, do they have the right to supersede the local members of the church? I'm interested in what you have to say about that and what you think. Put those comments down below. Email me, info@robcarpenter2.com. This is part one of Church of God Spiritual Revolution. Let's talk about it. Let's talk to you real soon.